All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to tonight's virtual celebration. We're so glad that you're here with us. I know folks are filing in, but I'm just going to begin and they can catch up. My name is Sonia Epstein, and I am the Museum of the Moving Images Associate Curator of Science and Film. And tonight we are celebrating two very established well, actually non-established emerging artists, but whose work is certainly established and who we are very excited to be here tonight to celebrate. So the Sloan Student Prizes were created to celebrate outstanding feature film screenplays or television pilots that integrate science or technology into realistic, compelling, and timely stories. The prizes also aim to support film development and advance the careers of emerging filmmakers as they transition out of school and into the industry. To that end, the two winners who will be celebrating tonight will each be receiving a $20,000 prize, year-round mentorship from a film industry mentor and also a science mentor specific to their projects, and opportunities for industry exposure through the Museum of the Moving Image. The winner of the Sloan Student Grand Jury Prize, Marissa Torelli-Podevska, for her series Starlight, was nominated by the University of Southern California, where she is a screenwriting candidate. The Sloan Student Grand Jury Prize is a best of the best screenplay from those nominated by the Sloan Foundation's 6 film school partners. So those are film schools that the Sloan Foundation has a year-round relationship with, awarding screenplay and production grants. And those are NYU, Columbia University, Carnegie Mellon University, the American Film Institute, USC, where Marissa is from, and UCLA. So, all to say, a very competitive prize, and the jury was really thrilled, as are we, with her project. The winner of the more recently established Sloan Student Discovery Prize, which was started in 2019, is Julie Jackson for their series Delta, and they were nominated by Temple University. So they competed for this prize alongside nominations from Brooklyn College, Florida State University, SUNY Purchase, UT Austin, and University of Michigan. Also, very tough competition here. We had a wonderful jury of scientists and film professionals who chose these winners, and you'll hear from 2 of them tonight. The jury was all women this year, a first, which we're very proud of, and included actress Cara Seymour, producer Natalie Kasabian, Cinetics Alexi Galfus, Princeton historian of technology Emily Thompson, Cornell Tech roboticist Wendy Ju, and UC Berkeley's marine biochemist Bethany Edwards. So just want to thank them for their participation and for, really thoughtfully reading all of the nominated scripts and having a great deliberation. I also want to thank our writing mentors who came on board over the summer to help all 12 nominated projects revise their script. They met with each winner, they gave notes, and really helped each winner prepare a packet for the jury that was as strong as it possibly could be. You'll also hear from 2 of them tonight. And the writing mentors for this year were director Claudia Wheel, producer Luca Borghese, writer Nisar Modi, literary director from Conner Literary, Emily Rappaport, writer-director Musa Saeed, and Bellevue Productions literary manager and producer Kate Sharp. I also want to thank Melissa Ani, who's here tonight, who cast, directed, and put together the readings that we'll be hearing. The run of show for tonight, I'll be introducing and then handing it off to some of the folks that I mentioned, as well as Doran Weber from the Alfred P. Sloan Foundation. And in addition to that, you'll be hearing 2 select screenplay readings from the winning scripts. Should you guys have any questions for the filmmakers or about the prizes themselves, you can feel free to write them in the little Q&A box or in the chat below. I see some of you are already commenting there, and we'll do our best to get to them at the very end. I also want to thank our wonderful ASL interpreter here, Carrie, who is doing a beautiful job, and just makes this event that much more theatrical and special. I also just want to quickly thank my wonderful colleague, Sarah Luciano, who's been instrumental in shepherding these projects, and the rest of MOMI staff, a lot of whom are here tonight, including our director, Carl Goodman, Barbara Miller, Director of Curatorial Affairs, the Curator of Film, Eric Hines, our PR Director and Public Relations Manager, Tomoko Kawamoto, Max Cornillon. It's really taken a sort of all hands on deck effort, and we couldn't do this without everyone's support. Most importantly, perhaps, I would like to now turn things over to the person who really made this all happen in numerous senses. He started the Sloan Film Program over 20 years ago and much more. He is the Vice President of Programs and the Program Director at the Alfred P. Sloan Foundation, Doran Weber. And so as he's coming on, just a note, I'll sort of be, guiding things throughout the evening. So you'll hear from me a few different times, but otherwise I'll be in the back. Okay, and here's to Doran.
Hi, everybody. It's great to be here. Thank you, Sonia. I'm going to make a few remarks. But first, I want to show you a short 3.5-minute video that gives you an overview of the Sloan Foundation and our program and public understanding of science, under which rubric this program falls. So can you please roll the video?
Our universe began with a bang. Then Earth formed, and life came. 3 billion years later, that life would lead to humanity. Humans developed tools and trade. They painted cave walls and told stories around a fire. This was the beginning of both science and art, of civilization. Science and technology enabled us to understand nature and to build on it. Art and the humanities allowed us to express our deepest feelings and thoughts. They were two sides of the same human impulse to survive and thrive. But as art advanced and science became more powerful and specialized, the two cultures diverged. This polarization continues to pose a fundamental challenge to modern progress. For more than 2 decades, the Alfred P. Sloan Foundation's Program in Public Understanding of Science and Technology has worked to bridge the divide between these two cultures. We bring science and the humanities together by empowering creators, writers, directors, playwrights, and others to tell stories that inspire appreciation for scientific discovery and its multifaceted human dimension. Sloan has supported thousands of books, screenplays, films, radio segments, TV shows, plays, and various media from operas to virtual reality that make science more accessible and showcase the pioneering human stories of scientists and scientific achievement that have shaped the modern world. Sloan's exceptional grantees demonstrate what's possible when scientists and artists come together. They dramatize tales of great breakthroughs and tragic failures, as well as the benefits and costs of such endeavors. Their stories promote progress in human knowledge, inspire the next generation, and spotlight the people often left out of the history books. Because before Neil Armstrong could take his giant leap onto the moon, there was a young woman in Virginia who did the math to put him there. As civilization continues to advance, we'll need both scientists and artists to speak a common language and meet new challenges together. Because science is a primary engine of human progress. It touches every part of life on this planet, from our food and water to our climate and health. And it results from human curiosity, benevolence, and ambition. Now, more than ever, we must support artists with a moral, human-centered imagination to portray the complex and far-reaching role of science and scientists in the world, so that we may apply the deepest and most fundamental human knowledge for the betterment of all.
Thank you. So as Sonia mentioned, the goal of this program, which we started over 2 decades ago, was to influence the next generation of filmmakers to tackle science technology themes and characters. And we started with the 6 partners that Sonia mentioned, and about 10 years ago, we decided to create a grand jury prize, a kind of best of the best. And we did it through the Tribeca Film Institute. And I just want to mention 2 films that have come out of that, or that are coming out of it. One was To Dust by Sean Snyder, which you saw a short clip from in this series. And the other upcoming is James Thomas Thinks the Earth is Flat by Anderson Cook, which will be shooting in September. So the goal of this, the grand jury prize, is both to honor these, terrific scripts, but also to try and get these films made. And then in 2019, we started the Discovery Awards and focusing on public universities with film programs. And we're very thrilled with the caliber of those new awards, one of which you're going to be hearing about tonight. And the point I would make to all the filmmakers in the audience and those who are, joining the Sloan family is that we're a good investment because we will help you at every stage in your career. So after film school, we have half a dozen screenplay development partners, Sundance, Tribeca, Film Independent, SF Film, the Athena Film Festival, and the Blacklist. And we develop screenplays. You can get multiple grants through those different partners. And then we also can help you at the production and the distribution stage. One of our partners, the Coolidge Corner Theater, gives grants to theaters all across the country. I think we've been in 42 of the 50 states, and we hope to get to 50 soon, to screen films. And one of the 3 always has to be a Sloan film. So we're even giving you a distribution. And used to be every 3 years before COVID, we have a Sloan Film Summit. We bring everyone together so the family meets each other. We're going to do one in April with Film Independent in Los Angeles, but because the last 2 years of COVID, we will have 5 years worth of people. So I think over 200 filmmakers, and it's a very exciting group. And the 2 winners here tonight are going to join that group. Among the Sloan family, in addition to film students, we have well-established films. So last week at a ceremony like this one, a virtual ceremony, we gave our Science and Cinema Award at SF Film to Adam McKay for Don't Look Up, which is a film that I strongly recommend. I know it's been controversial, but we think it's wonderful. And next week at Sundance, we'll be giving our Sundance Feature Film Prize to Kogonada for a film called After Yang. And one other film that we're proud of that hasn't come out yet, Werner Herzog Theater of Thought. So keep an eye out for that. And then I just leave you with, in addition to Hidden Figures, which you saw in this film, which came out of a book grant of ours, we made another book grant about 20 years ago for a book called American Prometheus, which won the Pulitzer Prize. It's about J. Robert Oppenheimer and the atomic bomb. And this year it was optioned by Christopher Nolan and is now going to become I think a pretty big film based on the cast. Cillian Murphy's playing Oppenheimer, Robert Downey Jr. is in it, Matt Damon, the usual suspects. And that will, I think, open in 2023. So the Sloan family spans everyone from the beginning film student to more established filmmakers. The one thing that brings them all together is their interest in dramatizing science technology, either thematically or through characterization. So with that, let me thank you for coming and return it to Sonia.
Great. Thank you so much, Doran. Yeah, a lot of exciting things to look out for. And for tonight, we have 2 award winners, and we're going to start by focusing on the Sloan Student Grand Jury Prize winner, Marissa Turelli-Podevska. And to begin our sort of celebration of her and her prize, Starlight, we are going to hear a few remarks from her writing mentor, Nisar Modi, who is himself an accomplished screenwriter who wrote Breaking at the Edge in 2013, Z for Zachariah, which you might have seen. He's written scripts for a wide array of actors and filmmakers, including Will Smith, Leonardo DiCaprio, Matt Reeves, Chloe Moritz, et cetera, et cetera. So we're really happy that you're with us, Nisar, and I'll let you say a few words about Marissa, and then I'll take over from there.
Thanks, Sonia. I think people can hear me. I feel very fortunate to be part of this whole process. So thank you for including me. And Marissa's script was an eye-opener in a number of ways to my continuing horror and dismay. I never knew anything about the woman she had written about I'm probably going to butcher the name, Cecilia Payne-Gaposchkin, I think is the way you pronounce it. And it's incredible that Marissa found this story and did an incredible job dramatizing it and bringing it to life. So it was educational for me on one sense, but on the other hand, she never lost sight of the drama and the script, and it really, I think, belied her youthfulness to see how accomplished the screenplay already was, even before I started working with her on it. Or actually, I did nothing on it. All I did is suggest a few little things. But she was a delight to work with, and I think has a very promising future. I'm very excited to see what happens with this project. I think it's something that is, viable in many ways, commercially and also creatively. And I really hope that she continues with it and it ends up getting made, because it's definitely something I would love to see. But she was a pleasure to work with, and I think she has a great future, and I'm very glad that it worked out the way it did. Clearly, from looking at this chat on the right-hand side of the screen, she has about 10,000 people saying something similar. So clearly, I'm not the only one who is impressed by her. But yeah, I think it's much more exciting to hear from her rather than from me. But it's been a great process, and I'm very excited to see what happens with it next.
Thank you so much, Nisar. Okay, so I'm just going to read the log line for Starlight, so everybody knows. So this is a series. You'll continue to hear more about it throughout the evening, but it's a scripted television series. And the log line is, when a young female scientist arrives at the University of Cambridge in 1919, she must choose whether to follow the rules or change the game altogether. Inspired by the life and career of Cecilia Payne-Gaposchkin. Again, not sure if I said that right, but I hope I did. So right now I'm going to share another little video trailer that gives you a sort of overview, hopefully, of the Sloan Student Prizes. And then I am going to turn it over to one of our jury members who's going to read the jury citation, and then we'll hear from Marissa accepting the award. So 1 second while I share this video, and then we'll come back together.
And the Oscar goes to First Man.
The Imitation Game!
Hidden Figures.
Okay, so 1 second while I stop the next thing from playing. But yes, so now I'm going to turn things over to Emily Rappaport. Oh wait, I'm so sorry, we have so many people on this, to Natalie Kasabian, who is going to read the jury citation for Starlight. And Natalie, if you'll bear with me while I read your impressive bio very sort of quickly. Natalie is a really great independent film producer based in Los Angeles who has received previous Sloan support for her 2018 feature Searching, which she produced. It was a thriller starring John Cho and Deborah Messing. It was acquired by Sony in a sort of landmark Sundance deal. And she has done a lot since and continues to do a lot. You can look out for Searching 2, a Sony and Screen Gems production starring Storm Reed and Nia Long, coming out one of these days, I hope. And we're extremely grateful to her for being a part of this whole process. So on to Natalie to read the jury citation for Starlight.
Thank you guys for having me, and congrats, Marissa. All right, so without further ado, Marissa Torelli Padevska's Starlight is an exciting and necessary feminist story of a scientist, Cecilia Payne-Gaposchkin, who changed our understanding of what the universe is made of and was determined to excel despite the obstacles women faced in a male-dominated field at the turn of the 19th century. For its well-researched portrayal of a strong character who has been buried by history, we are pleased to award the 2021 Sloan Student Grand Jury Prize to Starlight.
Thank you so much. On to Marissa, your moment.
Hello. I don't know. Am I on? I can't tell from looking. Okay, I think I am. There's no one else to tell me if I am, though. Thank you, everyone, for being here tonight. This is so beyond exciting, and so exciting to see like my friends and my family writing in the chat box, so I know that they're watching. I have this beautiful box that came in the mail that I'm supposed to open on this award ceremony call. So I'm going to open that now with this beautiful bow. And it's quite heavy. So I will open. Wow. It's quite large. This is a physical award. I've never gotten anything like this. It's a Sloan Student Grand Jury Prize, Marissa Torelli Padevska for Starlight from the Alfred P. Sloan Foundation. I have a whole list of people that I want to thank for this. So just give me one moment while I pull up that long list. I did not want to forget anyone, so I wrote it all down. First, I want to thank everyone involved in this entire process and for making tonight possible. Of course, thank you to the Sloan Foundation and the Museum of the Moving Image for believing in me and believing in this story. I cannot wait to develop this script with both of you over the next year. Thank you to the all-women jury, all women, so cool. Thank you for choosing the script. Thank you to my mentor, Nisar, who we heard from, and for helping me develop this and taking it totally to the next level. Thank you, Sarah and Sonia, who both were so helpful in guiding me through the entire application process and afterwards. Thank you, Melissa, who put together this amazing reading that we're going to hear in a little bit and all the work she put into that. I want to thank my family who's watching, my mom, my dad, who've always encouraged me to pursue what I love doing, which is writing and telling stories that hopefully make some kind of difference. My grandparents, my Nana who's watching, who made attending USC in the first place possible, and always believed in me. Hi, Nana. And I want to thank everyone who read Starlight and helped me make this script really as strong as it possibly could be, especially my boyfriend Richie, who was asked to read Starlight one too many times before I actually submitted it. And most of all, I want to thank, of course, Cecilia Payne-Gaposchkin, who of course is not here, but I want to thank her for her work that really changed the way that we understand the universe and changed the game for women in science really forever. When I first learned about Cecilia's story, I immediately connected with her and knew that this was a story that I wanted to learn more about and that I wanted to tell, and she was someone I wanted to get to know. And I think that when we feature scientists on screen, we don't always get to see how they got their start. We usually focus on their discovery, but not so much their experience leading up to that, how they got there, and especially who they were as teenagers, which is what we see in Starlight. And I was really excited to show her as just a teenager, as a person that everyone could relate to, and try to figure things out before she actually made that big discovery. I hope that Starlight can eventually make it to the big screen and give us a look into her life and what she achieved, but more importantly, the obstacles that she had to face and the barriers she had to break down to actually get there. She never ever stopped, literally for anything or anyone, to reach her dream, and honestly, she has totally inspired me to do the same with my storytelling. So thank you guys for everything, and thank you everyone for being here.
Starlight by Marissa Torelli Padevska, Pilot. Exterior country road, Wendover, England, night. Superscript, England, 1904. A clear night sky illuminated by stars.
Where do stars come from, Mama?
Emma Payne pushes young Cecilia Payne in a pram. Cecilia reaches her tiny hand up to the starry sky.
God put them there for us, Cecilia.
What did God make them from?
That's not for us to question.
Flash. A meteor lights up the sky just for a few seconds.
What was that, Mama?
A meteor.
Will it come back?
I don't think so.
I don't want to forget it, Mama.
Emma looks up at the sky and closes her eyes.
As we walked home tonight, we saw a shining meteorite. You sing it.
As we walked home tonight, we saw a shining meteorite.
Now you'll never forget.
The night sky turns to a cloudy blue one. Exterior English countryside, day. A train's horn blares just before it rushes by. Superscript, 15 years later, England, 1919. Interior train, day. Cecilia Payne, now 19, looks out the window, sitting alone. Station signs pass by. Letchworth, Stevenage, Finsbury Park. A group of students chat across the aisle. A girl with a bob haircut approaches Cecilia.
You also heading to Cambridge?
Fresher. You?
Also new freshers. Want to join us? We're debating cigarettes. Lucky Strikes or Chesterfields. I'm a Lucky Strike girl myself.
Cecilia focuses on the rolling hills outside.
Isn't it incredible?
The Luckies?
Oh, the faster we move through space, the slower we move through time. So, if this train right here were to somehow travel at the speed of light, any clock tower would seemingly freeze, all while the clock's hands kept turning in our narrow reality.
The train stops.
This must be Cambridge.
Cecilia grabs her bag and heads for the door.
Chesterfields. Definitely.
Cecilia exits the train. Exterior Cambridge Station, day. Cecilia watches the same group of students hail a four-wheeled hansom cab pulled by two horses. Bob Haircut hands the driver a wad of cash as the students pile in. Cecilia searches for a more affordable solution. Exterior Cambridge Station, day. Cecilia rides a slow tram pulled by one horse. She opens a pack of Chesterfields and nervously lights one. Exterior Newnham College, University of Cambridge, day. A three-story red building covered in ivy. Cecilia places her trunk down to stop and take it all in. She's made it. Students buzz around her. She heads inside. Lobby.
Welcome to Clough Hall.
She sees a female student hang something on a wall covered in multiple flyers. She takes a closer look. It's a sign-up sheet that reads, Arthur Eddington's return to Cambridge. 4 lecture tickets reserved for women of Newnham. Sign up for the lottery here.
Is Arthur Eddington really returning to Cambridge?
I guess. Who's he?
Who's he? You don't know?
I just hang the flyers.
He's the man who just proved Einstein's theory of relativity correct. He's a genius. Wait, this can't be right. It says there are only 4 tickets available for women.
Guess you better get lucky.
Cecilia opens her suitcase in the middle of the lobby, digs out a pen, and signs up for the ticket lottery. Interior Cecilia's room, Clough Hall, night. Cecilia lays on the floor reading Poetry of Wordsworth. Female voices share a fun laugh down the hall. Cecilia catches a glimpse of herself, alone in the mirror. Interior classroom, University of Cambridge, day. Cecilia sits in her new classroom with all female students. Ms. Agnes Arbor walks around as the students look under microscopes. Cecilia adjusts her microscope and makes a note.
Excuse me, Ms. Arbor. I think I found some desmids, but I cannot identify them.
Agnes looks through the microscope.
Well, do not worry about that.
But what are they?
We are focusing on common algae.
Cecilia points to the assignment sheet.
Miss Arbor, I already completed this material last year.
Then you will learn it again with the rest of the class.
So you can't tell me about the desmids?
Desmids aren't a part of this course.
Cecilia leans over to Lily, who works next to her.
I guess desmids aren't her subject.
Agnes passes out a sheet of paper to each student. Cecilia looks at the list of books.
Each of you should have the intro textbook by our next class.
Lily leans over to Cecilia.
Never be able to afford these.
You also on a scholarship?
Yeah. Guess I'll have to pass the class without knowing about algae.
Exterior, River Cam, Cambridge, night. The riverbank is filled with young students. Some relax on blankets while others sail by on boats. Cecilia sits alone by the river, reading a book on desmids. A young man nearby spots her. This is Ted Denton. He gets up and sits beside her.
Looks like you could use some company.
Oh, that's not really necessary.
Ted pulls out a pack of cigarettes.
May I?
Horrid habit for a girl.
He tucks the pack in his pocket and lights his cigarette.
Not a boating fan.
I prefer solid ground.
He scoots closer to her.
How will you know what you like if you're not open to new things?
I've got good instincts.
She looks up at the starry sky.
I'm an astronomer, you know.
Really?
He scoots closer to her.
That's a spiral nebula called Andromeda. A man named Herbert Curtis found 11 novae. That's pronounced novae 2 years ago.
He actually discovered... Never mind.
He thinks the novae are fainter in photographs. That means Andromeda is actually a second galaxy outside the Milky Way.
But what if there are really more galaxies out there?
Impossible. There's only one galaxy and it's ours.
He rests his hand on her leg.
The question is who we choose to share it with.
It's nearly curfew.
You can stay out a little longer.
It was nice to meet you, Ted.
She hurries off. Ted watches her go. Interior lobby, Clough Hall, night. Cecilia walks into the lobby but stops cold at the wall of flyers. There's a new one beside the Eddington sign-up sheet. Congratulations to the 4 Newnham winners. She anxiously runs her finger down the list. Her face falls. She looks back at the list. Something catches her attention. Interior hallway, Clough Hall, night. Cecilia knocks repeatedly on a door. Lily, her botany classmate, opens the door in her nightgown.
Cecilia?
I know you have one of the tickets to Eddington's lecture tomorrow.
Yes, I couldn't believe I got one.
I'll give you £2 for it.
You have £2 to spare.
Well, no, but I'll sell something. I'll sell some of my clothes.
They both look at Cecilia's secondhand dress.
Okay, maybe not my clothes, but I can borrow money from a friend.
Cecilia, I'm not looking to sell.
Please, Lily, I want to go more than anything in the world.
I'd like to go too.
But
maybe someone else will give you theirs. I'm sorry.
She shuts the door, but Cecilia stops it from closing.
Wait, you needed the intro textbook? I'll get you one.
I thought you could barely afford one yourself.
But if I promise to get you a copy, will you trade me?
If you're not outside the lecture by 7 sharp, I'm going in.
I'll be there.
Interior library, University of Cambridge, day. Cecilia hunches over an Intro to Botany textbook. She transcribes it into a notebook, word for word. She looks at the clock, 12 o'clock. The hands fade into one another. 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. Leslie John Comrie, or LJ, browses the shelf. He sees Cecilia scribbling away. He watches her copy a drawing of a root.
She's an artist too.
Oh, were you waiting on this book?
Got mine.
She checks the clock. It's 4.
Are you copying the entire thing?
Yes.
That will take you a week.
I have 3 hours before Eddington's lecture, so I better write fast.
You were one of the 4 women.
No, but Lily from Botany was. She needs this book.
Oh, I could check it out for you.
I can get along fine without a man's signature.
Later, Cecilia's handwriting has turned into faster scribbles. The clock reads 5 o'clock, then 6 o'clock. She writes and writes until her hand cramps and she can barely hold the pen. 6:30, 6:40, 6:50. She's on the last page. She makes a run for it. Exterior Trinity College Dining Hall night. A crowd of students surround the hall. Cecilia makes her way through the crowd. She watches the dozens of male students find their seats inside. Cecilia looks around for Lily. She's nowhere to be found. Cecilia looks up at the clock tower. 7:05. A ticket taker guards the door.
Ticket, sir. Thank you. Ticket, sir. Thank you.
I'm one of the 4 Newnham women.
Ticket, please.
I don't exactly have one.
Lady, you're holding up the line.
She sees Lily.
The girl with my ticket is just inside. If I could get to her.
I can't let people go in and out.
Grab her by the skirt and get her out of the way.
Miss, you need to move aside.
Cecilia makes a run for it and bolts inside.
Excuse me, miss.
Inside, the ticket taker loses sight of her. She pushes through the crowd, searching. Cecilia pushes through the students, keeping her eye on Lily. She looks back. The ticket taker is close.
Lily! I've got the book!
This isn't the textbook.
It's a notebook. I copied the text.
By hand?
But do you want the book or not?
In the crowd, the ticket taker finally spots Cecilia.
Miss, I'm going to have to escort you out right this minute. This lecture's about to start.
She holds up a ticket.
I was just finding my seat.
Cecilia finds a seat surrounded by hundreds of male students. She takes out a notebook and a pen. Arthur Eddington enthusiastically addresses the room in his perfectly tailored suit and perfectly knotted tie.
Based on Einstein's new theory of gravity, who can tell me how much the warping of space and time would cause light to bend compared to that of Newton's prediction?
Cecilia raises her hand. A few other students do too. Eddington looks around the room until he points to a student.
Twice as much?
That's right. And can anyone tell me how much a ray of light would bend if it were to scratch the side of the sun?
Cecilia raises her hand again, this time higher. Eddington makes direct eye contact with her until his gaze moves on to another student, raising his hand.
You there?
1.75 arc seconds.
You all have been doing your homework. But here's a real tricky one. How long would those angles be if made by a triangle?
Cecilia scribbles in her notebook. She raises her hand.
Anyone?
She raises her hand higher, stretching it in the air. She looks around. She's the only one raising her hand.
I guess we will move on then.
Eddington looks back at her with a hint of a smile. They make eye contact for a moment.
There had been a few attempts to use a solar eclipse to prove the bending of starlight, all unsuccessful. But I was lucky. On May 29th, there would be a solar eclipse. The perfect conditions for proving Einstein's theory. I just had to make a short and simple journey to a remote island off the coast of Africa.
Cecilia's pen goes dry.
Does anyone have an extra pen?
The men ignore her. She turns around to find Ted Denton.
Are you following me?
Do you have an extra pen?
That depends.
Depends on what?
If you'll go out with me.
Cecilia turns to Eddington, not wanting to miss anything. She tries to write again, but her pen is still dry.
The sun would be at the center of Hyades, a bright field of stars which would make measuring light deflection possible.
So, what do you say?
I was mistaken. My pen works fine.
Cecilia turns back to Eddington. She shuts her eyes, trying to memorize his words.
3 days after the eclipse, as the last lines of calculation were reached, I knew that Einstein's theory had stood the test. The new outlook of scientific thought had prevailed. I had prevailed. And it was because I didn't let anything or anyone stop me.
Exterior, University of Cambridge, night. Cecilia runs through campus, knocking into students. She murmurs to herself. Interior, Cecilia's room, Clough Hall, night. Cecilia rushes inside, still murmuring to herself. She rummages through her desk for a pen. She grabs a notebook, writing as fast as she can. We get a glimpse of her paper. She's transcribing Eddington's lecture, word for word. Interior, Cambridge Student Office, day. Cecilia sits across from Woodrow Benedict.
So you wish to change your studies? Botany too difficult?
I've just found another calling.
I see. Well, I can speak with the zoology department and get you settled in there.
Zoology?
Well, if not botany, a girl might find her calling in zoology, I assume.
Well, yes, you assume.
Sorry?
I want to switch to astronomy.
Let me guess. You attended the big lecture last night and now you feel inspired. Is that it?
I had a realization, Mr. Benedict.
Astronomy is not something you do on a whim, Miss Payne.
I worry for anyone who tries to answer the questions of the universe on a whim.
You're going to answer the questions of the universe, are you?
Maybe I could be lucky enough to make a small contribution.
Miss Payne, it comes down to the fact that astronomy is under mathematics. You were accepted to Cambridge under the science exam.
But maybe there's some exception.
There is not.
But my first year has just started. I could catch up.
It's out of my hands. I'm sorry.
Cecilia gets up and heads for the door, defeated.
How many women astronomers can you name, Miss Payne?
She stops in her tracks, but doesn't turn to face him. She stands there for a long moment, silent.
Yes, well, that's what I thought.
Cecilia walks out, clenching her fists. End of excerpt.
Okay, so hopefully that gave all of you a little taste of Starlight, and you are ready for more. Again, I want to thank Melissa and Eve for putting together that incredible reading, and all of the actors, some of whom are with us right now, for all of their hard work and talents that they fully brought to this project. So now we're going to move on to the Sloan Student Discovery Prize winner, Julie Jackson, for their series Delta. I'm going to read the logline for Delta, which, like Starlight, is also a television series. A farm worker with deep connection to the land meets an out-of-town biologist in a rural community. In order to change farming practices for the better, they must combat small-town prejudice rooted through generations. So now to speak a little bit about the process of working with Julie is the one and only Emily Rappaport. Emily is hang on one second. I'm sorry. She is the literary director at Connor Literary. She works on book to film adaptations and TV scouting, sourcing fiction and nonfiction titles for adaptation. She previously worked in television development at Annapurna Pictures, and she is just one of the smartest and most generous people. And I'm so glad she could work with us on this. So now to you, Emily. Thank you again for being here.
Thank you so much, Sonia. First of all, congratulations, Marissa. That was so wonderful. And thank you again to Sonia and Sarah for asking me to be part of this project. It was truly an honor and a pleasure. And thank you to Julie for letting me in on their process. It was really special for me to get to give notes on this amazing script. So I'm very excited for them. When I first read the treatment, before I'd read the script, my first thought was that the project was extremely ambitious. It's an anthology series. Some of it is period. It has animated overlays. It is covers multiple families and has supernatural elements and some genre elements, and also has some pretty hard agricultural science in it. But when I read the script, I was sort of amazed to see that Julie had integrated all of those elements to like really just amplify a story that at the core is about a community and its people and its land and its lore. Yeah, they never sort of sacrificed any of the groundedness or any of the sort of like TV essentials of, you know, suspense, propulsiveness, character development, world building. And, you know, it's kind of amazing to see a project with this many elements that is in balance in this way and really where everything works together. So I certainly learned as much working on this project as Julie did working with me. And I'm so excited that it won this award. It's so deserved. And I know that Julie and the script have a really amazing future. So thank you guys again. And I can't wait to hear it read.
That's great. Thank you so much, Emily. So now we're going to hear from another Emily. This one, Emily Thompson, was a part of the jury that chose both of these projects. Emily is a professor of history at Princeton University. She explores the cultural history of sound, music, noise, listening, technology, and the moving image. Her work has been supported by the National Science Foundation, the Guggenheim and MacArthur Foundations, the Academy of Motion Pictures and Sciences. She is the author of The Soundscape of Modernity, Architectural Acoustics and the Culture of Listening in America, 1900 to 1933, published by MIT Press, and is co-creator of the website The Roaring Twenties, an interactive multimedia presentation of the noises of New York City circa 1930. So something that I think all of you, at least who are New York based, should check out. So over to you, Emily, for the jury citation for Delta.
Thank you very much. And congratulations, Julie, on behalf of everyone on our jury this year. We'd like to offer this citation of Delta. For its richly drawn characters and ambitious storytelling, we are pleased to award the 2021 Sloan Student Discovery Prize to Delta, a limited series by Julie Jackson. Delta, which traces the intersecting lives of farming families in rural Arkansas over the past century, is a cinematic and vibrant story that brings the land to life as a character, foregrounding the role of agricultural science and land management in connections between people, place, and history. Congratulations, Julie.
Thank you so much, Emily. Julie, over to you.
Hi, thanks. Thank you so much. I appreciate everything everyone has said so far. I am traveling between Arkansas and Philadelphia right now, so I was unable to receive my physical award, but I will have it by the end of the week. I want to thank Sloan, the Sloan Foundation and the Museum of the Moving Image so much for this award and for helping filmmakers tell their story. Specifically, thank you to the jury for believing that stories about a small farming community and ag science have power to educate and inspire. I can't wait to work with Sloan and take the script forward with the help of mentors over the next year. So also I wanted to thank everyone I've met through this process, Sonia, Sarah, Emily, Melissa, the cast of actors you're about to see perform excerpts from the pilot script, that all came together to do this table read. And big congrats to Starlight and Marissa as well. Also, I wanted to thank my school, Temple University, and the Department of Film and Media Arts. Chet and Leanne are here tonight. And also a huge thank you to Professor Afia Nathaniel, who worked with me on every single draft and through each and every stage of this process. I know it was her support that got me through so many drafts over the course of a really tumultuous year. Thank you to my family and friends who gave their support freely, and especially to my mother, Kathy Jackson, who has believed in my work from the very beginning, and I couldn't do any of the work I do without her support. The Delta series is set in Light, Arkansas, where farming has sustained generations, and I'm really excited to get to tell some of those stories. It is an ambitious series in the sense that it's doing something that I haven't seen on TV before. It incorporates animation and folklore into history, and also, you know, working with what's happening to the land currently through farming practices and how maybe some of that should change. We see that through the eyes of our protagonists. I see this award as an opportunity to tell these stories about the place that I come from, and that's a small place in the Arkansas Delta. So thank you for seeing the value in my work.
Delta, Episode 1, August 2020, by Julie Jackson. Teaser. Exterior, Crowley's Ridge, day. A new 1978 Chevy Silverado drives along a stretch of empty highway surrounded by farmland. Rolling hills of Crowley's Ridge appear in the distance. Interior pickup truck, Ridge, day. Legend, August 1980. Robert, a good-looking man in a Western shirt and cowboy hat, has one hand on the wheel. He grinds his teeth between cigarette puffs. Young Nick coughs. The truck cab is full of smoke. A news broadcast crackles.
Today, when asked about the severe impact of the recent grain embargo on American farmers, President Carter said it was part of a larger strategy to address Soviet tensions.
Papa, there's too much smoke.
Robert, cigarette attached to his lip, rolls the window down a mere inch. He tunes the radio to a twangy country song. Row crops fly by outside the windows. Nick opens a notebook to a tidy chart on blue grid paper of animal sightings. He turns to his grandfather. Robert notices and looks away. Young Nick continues to stare hopefully at Robert. Finally, Robert gives in.
You keeping tabs on the critters there?
Just the ones at the creek and on the farm.
At the mention of the farm, Robert stiffens. Nick looks down at his notebook. For the first time, we see the hint of a black eye.
You look out there. You see the ridge there, Crowley's Ridge? You know, that's really my ridge, right?
What?
Yeah. Long time ago, old Crowley came to settle this land. But it was overrun by dinosaurs. Yeah. Dinosaurs were everywhere back then. Crowley, he had to call me and take care of them. You see out yonder, where those two hills meet?
Exterior, animated Crowley's Ridge, 2D animation sequence. A child's vivid colored pencil drawing of a stegosaurus and a brontosaurus. They look mean and they stamp their feet. A stick figure man in a cowboy hat appears.
Well, that's where I wrestled them. Two at once, me and my bare hands. It took me a minute to catch them both by the tail, but once I had a real good hold of them, scaly sons of bitches, I flung them around and around. I knocked their heads together like the devil was watching. And that was all she wrote.
The devil was watching?
Devil, sure he was. Well, he saw me knocking the heads of those two dinosaurs together, and he said, "Hey, ain't nobody kills off my dinosaurs without a fight." So we had us a wrestling match. I beat him, too. I beat him fair and square. And that's why you see those hills out there, those two little ones and that big one, because that's where I beat the devil and I killed them two dinosaurs. Yeah. They call it Crowley's Ridge, but it's really Francis Ridge because I made it.
End of animation sequence. Interior pickup truck, Ridge, continuous.
You made them?
You want me to go out there and dig up them bones?
Young Nick stares out the window. They drive next to a field burn. Burnt stubble. Smoke billows. The truck comes to a stop in view of Larry Francis, 45, sunburned and sweat-soaked, digging a fire break with a hoe.
Reckon it's time to get out there and help the old man?
He don't want my help.
Robert watches Larry thoughtfully. Angle on. Through the rear window of the truck, silhouettes of young Nick and Robert watch the burning field. Larry works in the distance.
Why does he burn up the fields?
That's what you do after everything's been cut up. Burn up the stubble. puts the good stuff back in the ground for next year.
What good stuff?
Whatever helps the plants grow. The Indians did it before us.
They just burn it all up and it stays burned out there till spring?
Young Nick watches with apprehension. The rolling smoke is reflected in his eyes.
Sometimes you have to let things burn.
Exterior, burning field, night. Adult Nick stares straight ahead. Flames dance in his eyes. Legend, August 2020. Giant plumes of smoke fill the dark sky over a harvested rice field. On the charred ground, a crumpled figure of a man can be seen motionless in the field. Nick stands motionless next to the body. The two silhouettes flicker in the firelight. The sound of a crackling fire is punctuated with the muffled ding, ding, ding of a truck door left open. Angle on, bright red pickup, 2020 model, headlights on, door open. Ding, ding, ding. The men are only a few steps away. Smoke rolls in heavy all around them. Angle on, a wide expanse of burning field. The land grows red with smoldering fire. Smoke billows high into the night sky and catches the eerie blue moonlight. Title card, Delta. Interior pickup truck, the 80 East Side, day. Sunbeams straight into Nick's eyes. Sweat collects on his face. He turns the wheel. Exterior, the 80 East Side, continuous. The truck eases across a wooden bridge and on a field road. It stops next to a harvested rice field. Nick steps out, looks, and takes it all in. Waves of heat drift up from the rice stubble. The land looks stripped, barren. Thick rows of stubble have been raked into mounds all along the field's perimeter, ready to burn. A fat crawdad picks its way across a mud puddle formed in a sharp-dug firebreak. Patches of thick mud, dried and flaking, explode to pieces under Nick's boot. Something inside Nick bursts. His face breaks. He doubles over with a loud, unwieldy sob. His shoulders convulse. The sob rings out over the empty field. Nick's tiny figure stands on the edge, an ant in the vast expanse.
These beavers ain't as bad as all that.
Angle on. Nick's mother-in-law, Iris, now in a massive straw hat and knee-high waders, stands in mud with a shovel on the edge of a copse, a small mud levee at her feet. Behind her, a creek bed is choked with a tangle of beaver habitat. Nick, his hunched back toward Iris, reaches down and snags a handful of dry stubble and pretends to inspect it.
I imagine it's as ready as it's gonna get. I should turn your sorry asses in for these burns.
You do that, Iris, I imagine Bettis will get the water department after you about gray water. At least that's what he says.
Oh, hell. Nobody around here is gonna go to trouble about that, but if I can get word to the right person in the right place, Bettis will be shelling out for more than just the extra irrigation. He's not stealing from my half. That Emily'd help me. All her work goes straight to the EPA.
They pause a moment, looking down at a beaver swimming across its pond.
She talked to you too?
She's begging anyone to talk. I was telling her all about my beavers, how I wanted to bring back a little pond in this area like there used to be. And, of course, screw over Bettis if I could. Town's not wrong about that. But she told me beaver habitats do even more than I realized. The debris in water can act as a filter for all the nasty runoff. All kinds of stuff. You can see the crawdads are back.
Nick moves his boot as another fat crawdad scuttles past, headed toward the creek.
But I have half a mind to tell her about all y'all burning up the Roundup left over in that rice. Like it's nothing, and it's no problem.
No Roundup in this field.
Fungicides, molluscicides, what else?
It's the way it's always been done.
Oh, don't you give me that same self-serving shit about the Indians doing controlled burns. Native Americans didn't pump their land full of chemicals or plant crops that strip the soil to nothing.
Iris gestures to the barren fields. In the distance, a tank-like combine eats in the next field over, spitting a steady stream of grain into an open bob truck.
Bet it's just like any of them. It's more work not to burn, fines or no fines. Disking it all under and the fertilizer.
If any of y'all pick up a book instead of crying about brother big government trying to fuck you over, you'd learn a thing or two about how to farm.
Afraid I don't get much of a say about what goes on here.
Think Larry would have gone full tilt with all these chemicals?
I don't think Dad would have done anything to make a crop. He just didn't get much trial and error.
Well, he's a better neighbor than you, that's for damn sure. No help in the garden this summer. My peas all about burn up on that south end. Your hose dry up.
I am sorry about that, Iris.
She's divorcing you, you know. I'm still your neighbor.
Nick starts for his truck.
Bettis is acting all high and mighty about this whole thing like he didn't divorce me. 18, Amma in diapers.
He's not a fan of change.
I'll tell you what, I never did envy Jean a day in my life. You actually gonna let that baby get drug off to Texas? That school?
Amma's got it all worked out. I can't.
Can't, never could, Nick Francis. You let her work right on top of your head. Sign away your life and that baby's too. Shit far. Duh. I gotta get out of this, son.
Iris turns and heads to her minivan parked a ways off. Nick studies the clouds and the tree line for a moment. He lets the loose chaff in his hand catch in the wind. He watches it. End of excerpt.
All right. Again, hope you got a sense of what that script is about. We are just about out of time, but maybe if Julie and Marissa, I can invite you back on so we can all sort of give you another round of applause. If anyone does have a pressing question for either of them, they can write it in the Q&A. But if not, we will look forward to continuing to work to develop these projects. And yeah, I want to let everyone know, if you're out there and you work in the industry and you have any interest in these, you can certainly reach out to myself or to Sarah Luciano. We will also be showcasing these scripts and these writers at the Museum of Moving Images First Look Film Festival, which happens in mid-March. So there will hopefully be an in-person chance to celebrate these guys in the coming months. And yeah, I think that's about it for tonight. But yeah, congratulations again to Julie and Marissa. We are very proud of you and very excited to continue working with you. So yeah, thank you to all of you who have tuned in tonight. And yeah, continue to stay tuned for more developments on all of this. And thank you so much to the real star of the show, Carrie. Definitely doing a fantastic job. So yeah, that's all of us for tonight, and we hope to see you guys again. Thank you.